Good morning, Vodafone. I have 5 minutes to go to the start of class, so if you're watching this on the replay, I'm just going to chat for 5 minutes to give you time to gather your stuff together, or you can just fast forward if you don't want to listen to the chat. But if you are listening, I just want to say how thankful I am for the comments and feedback that I've received, either on the chat box through the YouTube channel, or one or two of you that I've bumped into as we start to be able to come back to live classes in some cases, if that's possible for you, and if you're able to come along to some other classes. If you're at home, well, you are at home, obviously. If your practice is mainly at home watching these videos, there are now a whole collection of them beginning at the end of May when we did yoga every day for Mental Health Awareness Week, and then twice a week throughout June, and now it's the end of July. And I'm happy to say that we're continuing throughout August, finishing on the 20th, which is when I'm having a little break. So thank you for sticking with me if you have done, and if you're new, welcome. Do let me have your comments. It's really helpful to me to know who's out there. It's not a normal or ideal situation for a yoga teacher to teach into the void. Most of us were trained to serve the people in the room. That's very important as a yoga teacher. So it's quite an extraordinary and odd situation to have you out there in your rooms and me not being able to see you, or to know how to judge what's appropriate for you, or to select moves that I think will help you, or to select modifications, or to bring you some props, make suggestions how you might alter, tweak your alignment to find your way into the pose more easily or more deeply, depending on where you are with it. So it's far from ideal, but it has sustained me throughout lockdown to be able to teach yoga in this situation, and I hope that it's brought you something as well. So do continue to have those conversations with me while we are still in this challenging situation. Okay, so it's nearly time now. If you've just joined, welcome. Welcome, everyone. So sit in a comfortable position with your spine long. And spines vary, so you'll often hear a yoga teacher say, sit up tall, draw your crown away from your tailbone, plant your seated bones into the mat. And for some people, that will lift you up into a straight back position. However, we're not all the same. And if you're very tight in the muscles of your hips, or if you're sitting with your legs stretched out because your knees or hips don't allow you to sit in this position or a kneeling position, then you might find there's quite a pronounced curve in your spine. Do what you can with what you've got. It may help to put a cushion, a bolster, a block,
a rolled up blanket underneath your bottom to give you a little bit of lift. But the most important thing at the opening of and at the closing of a session, when we are attempting to focus the mind and to bring the mind into harmony with the rest of the body, the most important thing is that you're comfortable. If your mind is continually distracted by tweaks in the knees or in the hips, or if your back's sinking down, or you're trying to sit up straight and it's really, really uncomfortable, then just ease your way away from that. Let go of any idea of perfection in the pose. Acknowledge your great debt to this body. Be grateful for this body and work with it to achieve the best version of you. So focusing on the breath, that's something we all have pretty much in equal measure. Watch the breath as it enters the body, drawing in long threads and exhaling out deeply. So there are all kinds of breathing techniques that we use in live classes. Many of them are not really appropriate in this situation. So we're just going to focus on watching the breath and leave some of the more complex pranayama for another day. Next time you exhale, gently drop your chin towards your chest, opening up the back of the neck here. Inhale as you roll the ear over towards the shoulder. So you're dropping the head down, the other ear to the other shoulder. If you need to flutter your eyelids open, have a little look, then do so. Otherwise, if you're able just to follow the verbal cue, we're just rolling the head in semicircles. Chin comes to the chest, and then we're drawing the ear towards the shoulder. So it's a very simple move. Moving with your breath to open up the occipital area, the area at the back of the neck, and open up the sides as well. So be gentle with yourself. If you're doing the class live, it's only 7:30 in the morning. So there might be lots of creaks and grinds and noises off coming from the back of your neck here. Exhaling the chin to the chest. So make this your last round, doing an even number of rolls on each side. Exhaling chin to chest. Inhaling when you're ready, and again coming into your best version of a long spine. So I'm sitting in Siddhasana, sage pose, or a version of easy pose where you have the legs lightly crossed is ideal, but any pose where you can sit comfortably. I'm going to float the arms up and overhead above the hips, and then we're going to drop one hand down the side and take a side stretch, stretching the fingertips away and keeping both hips firmly fixed to the mat if you can. Inhale to the center and exhale to the other side. So we've done this before, but not for a while. Imagine you're sitting in a narrow corridor, so you're not going to be tempted to allow the body to fall forward or to fall back. If you're quite flexible in the side body, you might be able to slide that hand further down the mat so the forearm starts to come down, and maybe you can lift your chest a little bit, lifting your lower ribs up to the sky. Inhaling to the center, exhaling to the side. If your head feels comfortable, you can look towards the elbow of the raised arm. If that's too much, look forward or look down to your hand on the floor. So make this your last round. One more on each side, that is, for me. Make sure you've done an even number on each side. Moving gently, slowly, and with your breath. Inhaling to the center and exhaling down. So now we're going to take a twist. Make a note of which foot's in front, because we're going to change that in a moment if you're sitting cross-legged. If you're sitting in another position, it doesn't matter so much. Draw your shoulder blades together. Lengthen your spine as much as possible. Float the arms up. Take your right hand behind you and your left hand across the body. So we're twisting to the right. Again, just warming up. Be gentle with yourself. Remember, ahimsa, non-harming, also extends to ourselves. Inhaling to the center and exhaling. Now we're twisting to the left. So open your chest to the left. Use that hand on the leg to give you a little bit of purchase, but don't overdo it. One more to each side. Actually, no, before we change sides, we'll change legs. So if you're in a cross-legged position, take the other leg in front, and then we're going to twist to the right. So twists are very good for your internal organs. They're also good for the digestive system. They're also good for your breathing. Use twisting a lot in voice teaching to help people to find more flexibility and capacity in the rib cage. Inhaling to the center and exhaling to the center. So draw yourself forward onto all fours, adjust your position on the mat so that you've got room to the front and back. So you're pretty much in the center of the mat. As always, shoulders over wrists, knees underneath the hips. Have your fingertips to your toe tips in 2 parallel lines. We're going to exhale round the spine, draw the belly button to the spine, allow the head to drop as you look down towards the thighs, and then inhale as you draw chest and chin forward and allow your belly to drop. Again, we're just warming up. So gently does it at first, rounding into a cat stretch and extending into cow. As your body starts to warm up, you can make it a bit bigger. Remember to drop the head all the way down. I don't always do that because sometimes my head might fall off. So if you see me holding onto my head, it is bad technique. It's there just to stop the microphone ending up on the floor, which it has done on one occasion. Mainly because I decided to take my sweater off halfway through class. Not going to do that again. So move with the breath, exhaling and inhaling. So missed your last one. Exhale, sit back in child's pose. So that's the bottom comes down to the heels, part the knees if you need to give you a little bit more space in the pose. Inhale, coming back to all fours. And this time you're going to gently take hold of your right leg, draw it all the way to the front of the mat so we come into a lunge. Wrap the shoulders together at the back of the body. Lift your chest, look forward and up if you can. Stretch that left leg back and away. It's going to give you a deeper stretch in the hip flexor on the left. Now we're going to stretch off the hamstrings on the right. So gently start to draw your weight back. Take the bottom back towards the heels and lift the front foot and flex here. Maybe you need to adjust the hands. This is really going to stretch into your front hamstrings, your right hamstrings. This is half split, Ardha Hanumanasana. Inhale, we're coming into our horse riding lunge, Utthita Ashva Sanchalasana, and we're exhaling into our half split. So keep moving with your breath. As always, if you can make your exhalations deep and long, match it to your stretch. Inhaling as you come forward. Now we're going to change the hands here and press the wrists to the front of the mat and the fingers back. So we're adding in a little bit of a wrist stretch here. And as we exhale, we're stretching out the hamstrings and the wrists. Inhaling, coming forward. Exhaling, coming back. So we're doing hips and hamstrings today. Inhale, come forward, release the hands to a more normal, in inverted commas, position. Bring them to the mat. Draw that right knee back, so you're kneeling, and then we're going to exhale into child's pose. So I don't know about you, but my hip on the right now feels quite different to my hip on the left from that little stretch. Inhale, bring the left foot forward. Draw your body weight as far forward as you can to get a deep stretch in that hip flexor on the right. Eyes and chin can go up if that's comfortable for you. So just beginning gently, exhaling into that hamstring stretch. So as you warm up, you might be able to get your chest towards your thigh as you come forward in your horse riding lunge. And as you exhale into half split, you may be able to keep the chest attached to that thigh or not. Inhale, come forward. This time we're going to change the hands to the backs. The hands come to the mat, still with the fingertips pointing towards your knee. So that's a big stretch for the back of the wrist. I don't know about you, but I'm not very keen on that one. But they do say that the stretches you're not very keen on are the ones you probably should be doing. So I'm going to persevere with it and not grimace. Use the breath. So use the breath to release into the stretch rather than clenching the jaw and grimacing and sort of resisting the stretch. I've lost count, so we've probably done an extra one on this side. But that's no ill store, because it tends to be that the second side I get excited and I start moving quickly away and on to the next. Not a good habit. Press into the hands, bring the knee back and exhale into your child's pose. Inhale, draw the right leg forward again. Draw your weight forward so you feel that stretch in the left leg. You maybe send that foot back a bit. And if it feels good for you, open your right arm, draw it forward and out to the side here. So we're twisting to the right. You can hold it here, or you can think about picking up the back foot, looking over your right shoulder and stretching. So you don't want to be right on the kneecap here. You want to be forward of the kneecap. You might find it gives you a powerful cramp in that back thigh. Hopefully not as we've warmed up, but if it hits you, then just release it out into a hamstring stretch. Hold it here for one more breath, and then gently release, release the hand, release the leg, draw it back, bring the knees together. Exhale, child's pose, Balasana. Inhale, left leg comes forward into your horse riding lunge. Draw your body weight forward. That's going to give you a bigger stretch in that back thigh, chest and chin up. Stretch your left arm forward. Take it out to the side and behind. You can hold here if that's enough, or you can think about reaching for that foot. So I'm not on my kneecap here. I'm slightly forward of it. If your arms aren't long enough, you can take a strap here, but we're not here for very long. So maybe if you don't like this pose, or you can't reach, or you've got cramp, stay here. Inhale, draw the arm over, frame the front foot with the hands, draw the foot back and exhale into child's pose. Inhale when you're ready, come up to all fours, tuck your toes, press through the outside of the fingers, send the heels back, draw your belly towards your thighs, and then see if you can straighten your legs. So bringing the heels down to the floor, stretching out of the fingertips, draw away, stretching from your fingertips to your tailbone, from your tailbone to your heels as you press your chest towards your thighs. Take a couple of really deep breaths here. You can pedal through the down face dog if you like. You can draw your knees to your chest and then stretch. Do what feels good for you. Remember, you're a dog stretching out in the morning, and if you've got dogs, we'll see them do this often. Inhale, bend the knees deeply and walk to the front of your mat into Uttanasana, deep forward fold. Exhale here. Inhale, bend the knees, tuck the bottom down and open the arms as you lift up into Urdhva Hastasana, and exhale as you draw the hands to your heart center. Okay, ready for our sequence. Inhale, take the arms up and over. Exhale, come into a deep forward fold. Inhale, draw the right leg back into lunge. Exhale as you float the arms up into crescent lunge. Inhale and exhale, go a little bit more deeply into this lunge, adjusting the feet as necessary, keeping the legs parallel, drawing the inner thighs together, drawing that back hip around. If you really struggle with lunges or with your balance, you can bring the back heel down and come into warrior one. From here, we inhale, we stretch the front leg, and we exhale to come back down. We're going to do that one more time. Make it a little bigger if you can. Inhale, stretch the front leg, and exhale, come down. And now here, drop your left hand down towards the floor or to your thigh and take a bend over to your left, a side stretch here. And then come back into your crescent lunge. Now draw your back heel down and open into warrior two, facing to the right side, bending deeply into your left knee and the blade of your back foot. You're opening your hips here to the side, but you want that knee not to roll in. So keep drawing that knee back and come more deeply into the pose if you can. Shoulders stay over hips. From here, draw your left hand down towards your left knee and take the right arm up and over, drawing a straight line between your fingertips and the blade of your right foot if you can. Utthita Konasana. Stay here, or you can drop that hand down so the back of the tricep is coming towards the inner thigh, and some of you may be able to take a bind here. Right hand comes behind, you can draw it to your left buttock, or you might be able to find the fingertips of the left hand and grip here in Ganesh Mudra, which is that grip. Oops, that's just my shoulder popping. Do what you can, and if you want to take your chest up, your lower ribs spin round so you look up towards the sky. Quite strong. Inhale, release into the warrior two. Draw your exhale in warrior two. Inhale to lift your back foot. Draw your right arm up and overhead and transition back into lunge. That's a little bit tricky. Might need to adjust the feet here. From your lunge, go through your familiar flow sequence. So pressing into the hands, come into plank. Retain the breath in a plank. Exhale. Drop to knees, chest and chin, leaving the bottom high. Scoop the chest through into Bhujangasana. Wrap your shoulders, look down. Exhale into downward facing dog. Go at your own pace if you know what you're doing. And from downward facing dog, you can walk the feet to the front of your mat, or you can inhale, draw your right leg through, help it if you need to, and exhale, bring your left foot to meet it. Inhale, take the arms up and over. Exhale, draw your hands down to your heart center, into Tadasana at the front of your mat. Take a moment here, breathe. Inhale, arms come up and over, clasp one hand with the other at the wrist, and exhale, take a side bend. Inhale to the center, change the grip of your wrists, and exhale to the other side. So you want to keep level pressure through your feet here. Draw down your hips so you're not lifting one heel or taking the weight out of that heel. Inhale to the center, exhale to the center. We're going to do that sequence on the other side. I'm just going to change ends so that you can see me in the warrior two. Inhale, take the arms up and over. Exhale into your deep forward fold. Inhale, take the left leg back into your lunge. Exhale, come into crescent lunge, sometimes called high lunge. Draw your shoulders back and down here. Straighten the front leg. Exhale, come more deeply into that lunge. Inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, come down. Drop your right hand down and stretch out the left side of the body here. Inhale, back into your crescent lunge. Exhale, come into warrior two. So open the body to the left now. Inhale and exhale to find depth in your warrior two. So again, we're going to take a couple of breaths in this posture as we did on the other side. Tuck your tailbone under. We're powerfully opening the hips here. You want to rotate that front thigh out and you want to press through the blade of the back heel. Shoulders stay over hips, so try not to lean forward. Come down into the middle here. We inhale, we draw the right elbow down to the front thigh, stretch the left arm up and overhead. Draw your right ribs up and round if you can. Find that stretch. Lower a little bit if you can. Release the arm if you want to. So the fingertips almost come to the floor, and take the left hand behind. You can rest the back of the hand on the hip or the buttock. Maybe you can bring the hands to the thigh here, or you can look for the bind. Baddha Utthita Parsvakonasana, bound, extended, side angle pose. Lifting, lengthening, and opening. This is a tough stretch. One more breath here. Inhale, come up to warrior two, and exhale. Inhale again, back arm lifts, back heel lifts, frame the front foot, adjust into your lunge, and then come into your plank. So here you can take chaturanga if you want to. I'm going with knees, chest, chin. And if you're in chaturanga, you scoop through into up dog without touching down, if that's possible for you. Exhale into downward facing dog. And again, you can walk to the front of your mat, or you bend the knees deeply. You draw the left leg forward, help it if you need to bring to the front of the mat. Exhaling as your right leg joins it, forward fold. Inhaling up and over, and exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. Inhale again, arms come up and over, and we're coming into a fold. From your fold, take your feet wide, so your toes point out, your heels come in about mat distance apart, but it varies from everyone because we're coming into Malasana. Squat here, drop the tailbone down and lift the heart. So this is, Mala is a garland, and in the full pose, you wrap your arms around your shins like a garland. So if you're wanting to have a go at that, you don't have to, you can stay here. You can put blocks under your bottom, you can put blocks under your heels, or a rolled up blanket under your heels is quite helpful. So we're going to bring our feet together and maybe adjust the angle so that your feet are parallel. You can bring them tightly together if that's available to you, or leave them hip width apart. Stretch your hands forward and wrap your hands around your shins, and bring your hands together in Ganesh Mudra behind the heels. Tuck the head in and look to your heels. And at this point, if they've risen off the ground, try and persuade them back down again. Or if you've got a rolled up blanket handy or a flat block, stick that block underneath. So this is your garland, your mala that wraps around you in the pose. Ideally, I'd like to get my toes a bit closer together. That's just not happening this morning. Do what you can. And then release wherever you are in the pose, using your hands as necessary. Bring yourself down onto the mat. Opening the side body, stretching out so that your hand, your left hand and your left foot form a long line. So we're lying on the left side of the body. It would be simpler if I just said that, wouldn't it? With your hand in front of you to give you support. So depending on how you're built, some of you might be able to balance quite easily in this pose. Others might be really challenged rolling forward on back on the hip. So use your hand, use your breath, use your core muscles, try and get the hips stacked. So we're going to have a go at Anantasana. We've not done this before. Though if you've done Pilates, you might have done it because it's used quite a lot in Pilates poses. So make a cradle for your head with your left hand. So you've got your elbow bent here. And again, real tendency to fall forward and back. So just work on trying to get the body level. So you can stay here and work this. You can work lifting the leg and lowering, which is a familiar Pilates move. Or for Anantasana, Vishnu's couch, you can draw your leg in, take yogi toe lock around your big toe. So your peace fingers wrap around your big toe, and then see about lengthening that leg up. So this is where the balance suddenly goes woo, when you have to really use your core. But we've been doing lots of, I'm off. We've been doing lots of work opening the hips this morning, so this might be available to you. Strap can be really useful here. If you've got anything, a towel, a strap, a tie, you can loop around the foot if your arms aren't able to reach your foot. Couple of deep breaths here. And remember, the wobbling is just challenging your core, the same as when we do an upright balance. Balancing is finding an equilibrium. It's not a fixed state, it's a constantly shifting state as our environment shifts constantly. Bend the knee, draw that leg down, come onto your belly, take a couple of deep relaxing breaths on your belly before rolling on the other side. I'm just going to swing around so I don't have my back to you. But you know, if you don't need to look at me, then that's fine. You know what you're doing, or I'll give you verbal cues anyway. So here, again, we form a cradle with the elbow on the floor. Use your left hand at the front. We're lying on the right side of the body to give you stability here. So if you know you're going to wobble like Billy O, then maybe keep the hand there. Don't go any further. You can just work at lifting the leg and lowering it or holding. If you want the full pose, whoops, find your balance, find yogi toe lock, straighten the leg. So whoop, that's just my hip popping. So you might notice quite a big difference between one side and the other. That's normal. As I've explained before, hips don't come in standard sizes or arrangements. The angle of your femur into your hip socket varies from person to person, even from hip to hip. And many of us are slightly asymmetrical. And then add in all the things you've done to your body over the years, and your usage or abuse of your body may not be evenly matched side to side. We're just going to hold here if we can. And as with all balance postures, you need to calm the mind to hold the pose. So use your breath to help you find that calm state. Couple more breaths here, or come out of it if you've had enough. And then gently release the foot, release the hand, roll over onto your belly, make a pillow with your hands, and just release into Makarasana, crocodile pose. As you inhale, the belly pushes into the mat. The mat's not going anywhere. So you feel some movement in the lower back, and that's quite nice after we've been stretching the hips, softening the hips into the mat as well. Inhaling and exhaling deeply. So gently roll over onto your back now. Press your feet down, parallel to your hips, hips width apart. Press your hands into the mat, and we're just quickly going to take a bridge pose. Inhale, and as you exhale, press into the feet, send your knees over your feet. Inhale at the top and draw down slowly, one vertebra at a time. So we're going for movement here. We're not holding the bridge pose. We're trying to find some space in the spine. We're trying to identify our vertebrae as individual units and see if we can get them to move in sequence, but slightly independently of one another. Of course, they are, like everything in the universe, completely codependent. But just see if you can move them one by one. And make a note to yourself of areas where you can't separate them, where they seem to be completely stuck, where there's not enough flexibility between vertebrae to allow you to move them slowly and continuously. And that's just a note to self. You might need to work on that area. So make this your last roll. Bring your feet together, open your knees to the side. We're coming into Supta Baddha Konasana. You can stay here if you like for a short meditation if this position is comfortable for you. As I said, we've worked quite a bit on the hips, so it may be easier today than on other days if it's still not your favorite pose. And gently fold your legs in, send your feet away and allow them to flop Baddha Konasana. Wherever you are, focus on your breath. So directing your mind to your breath will just keep your mind for a little bit longer focused on your body. Remember that pranayama, the discipline of breath control or restraint of the breath, encages the mind within the body, stops it like a bird it's in a cage. If you direct your mind towards your breath, it keeps it steady, keeps it in the body, stops it from leaping around. So if your monkey mind's already started, reach out and grab for the next thing. Just draw it back in for its own good. Give it a little bit of a rest. As you inhale, the belly domes to allow space for a full lungful. As you exhale, it softens. As you empty, watch the breath. So it is now 8 o'clock. If you're able to grant yourself a few more minutes, I hope you are. You'll get the time back. You'll get the time threefold, because your mind will be more disciplined and therefore more productive. So any time spent calming the mind, you will get back in spades. Please stay here if you're able. I'm going to leave you now. Namaste.